The clock is ticking on Joe Biden's future as people right around the world watch his rapid decline. Here is the 81-year-old president speaking over the weekend, trying his best to make sense.
With your help, I know we have your help. With my help, helping us working together, we're going to get a hell of a lot done for the American people. And we're going to make sure these things are... So anyway, I guess if I stand here long enough, all those folks in the back are going to die of sunstroke.
It's so uncomfortable. And sadly, as we all know, it's not a one-off soundbite. This is what happens every time he's in front of the microphone without a teleprompter. And after the disastrous debate, he agreed to a televised interview with the ABC, where he danced around critical questions and straight out refused to have an independent medical evaluation.
Their concerns about your age and your health are growing, so that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the answer,
decision.
The right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right now.
No, I've already done it.
Yeah, okay, nothing to see here. You'd think if there was nothing to hide, there wouldn't be an issue. But Joe Biden, his wife Jill, and his son Hunter, Kamala Harris, and a few others are either delusional or so evil that they believe that they can give the American people enough BS that voters will believe them. Well, I think they're in for a rude shock on November 5, and maybe then they'll realise that voters are smarter than they think, and essentially they're not buying what the president is selling. Now, although the people around Joe Biden have to take a bit of responsibility here, what hope do they have when the president clearly has a God complex? Here he is claiming he and he alone ended the pandemic.
Folks, there's a lot of people still struggling because since we ended the pandemic, well, I'll be very blunt, since I ended the pandemic, he didn't. Corporate profits have doubled, and we got to do something about it.
Okay. Just so out of touch. Well, time is running out. Democrats have been meeting behind closed doors over growing concerns that Joe Biden should not be running again. There are reports as many as 4 senior Democrats in the House of Representatives want Joe Biden to step aside. And Fox News is reporting the consensus is that the party should be focusing on VP Kamala Harris. And unfortunately for the Democrats, that's not a great option.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be, unburdened by who we have been. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be, unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Why is she saying that, Brad? What?
I've probably heard her say that 1,000 times at this point. I still have no idea what it's supposed to mean. I mean, but look, I have to say that Kamala is just cringe personified. She literally, in the first clip you showed, put on a fake black accent that she does not have, talking about, I've been out in these streets. She doesn't speak like that. She went to elite academies growing up. She doesn't have that urban dialect whatsoever. It's totally inauthentic. How is that not deeply offensive to pander to black people and adopt a fake accent when you're speaking to black entertainment television? Like, I obviously am not black. I can't speak for them. I would find that very reductive and offensive if I was, though. And it's just, she is a terrible politician. We know this. And unfortunately, and I know this is going to be controversial to say or whatever, but when the Biden campaign was picking a vice president and they picked Kamala Harris in 2020, they weren't picking who they thought would be the best backup president. They weren't thinking who'd be best on the campaign trail. They were thinking about who would check the identity politics, diversity boxes of a black woman that they needed because it's already problematic enough, among the woke identity politics Democratic base to be running a white straight man as your candidate. Okay, well, we have to have some diversity and equity in our VP slot. So what they did, we all know this. I'm just being real with you. If she was a white male senator from California who'd never won an election outside of a deep blue state, there's no way he would have picked her as vice president. So what we have is somebody who was put in the job for reasons unrelated to merit and competency, who might be thrust into the limelight, and she hasn't done well when put in the limelight as vice president in the past. Even there's been reports that within the Biden White House, they're really disappointed in her and think she's done a poor job and try to keep her away from the important events and cameras. So look, it's not a great situation either way for the Democrats. They either have a guy who doesn't know where he is and looks addled and confused at random times, or they have someone who's clearly not up for the job, isn't a very good politician, and has just a lot of weird, cringeworthy things that she says, and has never actually won an election in her own right at the top of a ticket in any sort of swing state or battleground, or she has no appeal outside of liberal elites, which they've already got, but she has no appeal to moderates or independents or Midwest voters or anything like that.
Sky News hosts Danica and James asked the question, who can save America?
Well, if America doesn't go with the dementia candidate, their alternative is the man the media now labels a convicted felon, Donald Trump. Talk about caught between the devil and the deep blue sea.
But as America faces challenges from every side, from immigration to the economy to law and order, to name a few, is Trump the only senile candidate to fix it? Our topic for Head to Head, can Trump save America?
Joining us is Sky News contributor Kosha Garda and Australian Financial Review senior correspondent Aaron Patrick. Kosha, Aaron, thanks for joining us. I'll start with you, Aaron. Can Trump fix the mess that is currently the United States of America? Surely he is the great hope now.
Look, Trump's going to be an absolute disaster if he becomes president. And not only will he wreck America, he could possibly wreck the whole world.
It couldn't possibly be a greater disaster than Biden, could he?
I don't know. Look, Biden's got his problems, as you've pointed out. But has he really stuffed things up as badly as what's probably going to happen with Donald Trump? I don't think it's that bad.
Just quickly, can I ask you, just give me a couple of things that you think Trump would absolutely just make worse?
I think the big danger is Donald Trump's now going to be able to do things which are illegal, thanks to the Supreme Court.
Like what?
Well, like break the law, like engage in corruption, try and tamper with elections, interfere in law enforcement, try and cancel the charges against him. Basically, your run-of-the-mill average kind of president blowing up the world, blowing up the justice system kind of stuff.
The illegal stuff, is that that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Kosha, why do you think that Donald Trump can save America despite everything that we've just heard from Aaron?
Well, first I would say, Danica and James, just to step back a little bit, I would actually say that no one man can save America any more than Julius Caesar or Napoleon Bonaparte or Alexander the Great were able to save their countries. What's ultimately going to save America is the citizens, my fellow Americans, getting involved electorally, civically, culturally to take back their country. So that's sort of just the starting point to manage expectations for any leader. That said, the president obviously does play a key role in this. And if you believe that America is on the wrong track, as more than 50% of my fellow citizens do right now in the seminal poll, Gallup has been measuring this for 3 decades. Why is that? It's because we've strayed too far away from our foundational ideals, and we've strayed too far away from policies, at least in the last half century, that made America the most exceptional country that it has been. A thriving, large middle class that's quite prosperous, having an extremely strong military, the largest and most powerful that any country has ever had, but that you don't use it to go around policing the world. It's more of a deterrent and for defending the homeland, peace through strength, as Reagan called it, and civil liberties, making sure that our freedoms are not encroached upon, as they have been increasingly more and more, and that equal application of the law is applied to all citizens. Donald Trump's policy prescription addresses and goes to the heart of restoring all 3 of those, whether people like him stylistically or not. And the interesting thing is, with the litany of concerns that my fellow panelist over there Aaron mentioned, we've got something really convenient this time around that we didn't before, which is called recent history. And none of those allegations or any of those things actually happened when he was in the White House for 4 years. And the first 900 days, the first 3 years or so of his presidency saw actual, tangible, measurable gains economically. No new wars were started. Inflation was at an all-time low. The economy was soaring. Unemployment was low. Everything was great. We were energy independent. So there's actually history. There's no evidence that any of those crazy apocalyptic things are going to happen. And that would be the case for why he's the best choice for America.
Aaron, I want to put that to you because Kosher is right. The Trump presidency is not a mystery. We've had 4 years, and surely you would agree the 4 years of Trump were far better economically, militarily, for world peace than the 4 years we've had of Joe Biden.
Not necessarily. No, I don't necessarily agree with you, James. Look, the great problem here is we've got a huge war going on in Europe, okay, and it's against a tyranny, a dictatorship. We're on the sides of democracy. We don't know if Trump would pull America out of that. We don't know if Trump's going to defend us against an aggressive China in the Pacific. You know, this is our backyard. We don't know if he'd defend Taiwan. We don't know if he'd stick with the AUKUS agreement. You know, America is a superpower. It's central to world stability. It's central to Australia's security. And Donald Trump has shown, and Kosher alluded to this, great hostility to the importance of America as being this global supporter of good governance and stability and democracies. And Trump, everything Trump has said indicates that he wants to pull back from that.
We're almost out of time, but Kosher, just on that point, on Aaron's point, given there is so much global uncertainty, very trying geopolitical times, how can we trust that Donald Trump is going to be the one to solve all these problems?
I would say look at the alternative that's in front of us right now. These two wars and everything that Russia did, before with Crimea happened before Trump and after Trump. Didn't happen when he was in there. Maybe that's a coincidence, or maybe there's something to the method to his madness and the deterrence, peace through strength, as I mentioned. The other thing, too, is, again, the American people do not want to be out there policing the world and being in these endless wars or adventurism abroad. He has spoken about what he will do. He will pull back that endless war mantra that's out there right now in Ukraine and elsewhere. And you know what? I do think that Australia, actually, this is a separate topic, but should think a little bit more about self-reliance as well. I've said this for a long time, and kind of think about fortifying your own defenses and not relying fully on America, not just because of Trump, but even beyond Trump. The world is changing, and that's another topic for another day, but it does go to the heart of how this impacts Australia in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point, though. Kosher Garda, Aaron Patrick, thanks so much for joining us tonight.